Anyone who knows which questions we were to discuss last time?
So from number 22nd.
I'm sorry,
From 22nd question.
22nd question.
Yes, sir.
This here,
Yes, sir, from here.
but that would leave to my life. Didn't we complete the arithmetic part altogether?
So these were left for discussion.
Okay. 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 So we'll discuss these questions first, and then we'll move on to the algebra section. Okay. The ratio of flour to water in a sugar recipe is flour to water to sugar in a recipe is 7:4:1. So this here is flour components, this here is water components, and this here is sugar components. We can write this as like F is to W is to S, which is 7:4:1. The new recipe, now the thing is, this ratio can also be written as flour is to water. Like we can take out the elements from this and write this as well. Okay. Now it is given that the ratio in the new recipe calls for doubling of the ratio of flour to water. So whenever we are doubling a particular ratio, let's say that the ratio is A is to B, and we are doubling it, we basically multiply it by 2. Now this does not mean making an equivalent ratio. This means only multiplying the antecedent with 2. So this makes it as 2A by B. So therefore, when we are doubling the ratio of flour to water is 7:4. And when we are doubling the ratio of flour is to water, it is basically 7/4 times 2, which makes it 7:2. So the new recipe will have flour to water components in the ratio of 7:2. Now, it is asking the new recipe also asks for halving. This is basically making half of ratio of flour to sugar. So flour to sugar is 7:1. Now, whenever you are having a ratio, you basically multiply it by 1 by 2 or multiplying the consequent by 2. Okay, so flour over sugar is 7/1. So multiplying it by 1 by 2 makes it 7/2. So now the ratio of flour to sugar is 7:1. Now combining these ratios will give us flour is to water is to sugar is 7:2:2, right? This would be the new ratio in the recipe, okay, in the new recipe. Now, the question is asking if the new recipe calls for 8 cups of water, then how much sugar is required? See, here if we take 2 cups of water, 2 cups of sugar are required. Similarly, if we change it to 8 cups, therefore 8 cups of sugar would also be required. So the answer would be C, 8 cups. Anyone who has not understood this particular question? Anyone who wants me to repeat this question? Okay. Yeah, you want me to repeat it, Ashwin?
8 cups. I didn't follow there.
Okay, so first of all, the initial ratio was 7:4:1. We doubled the ratio of 7:4. So multiplying it by 2 makes it 7:2. Okay, so that is the new ratio. And then it is saying of sugar or flour is to water. Okay, and for flour is to sugar, it is asking us to halve the ratio, which makes it 7:2. So this is flour is to water, and this is flour is to sugar. Combining these two will give us 7:2:2. So flour is to water is to sugar. This would be the new ratio. Now, if let's say you are taking 2 cups of water, you will need 2 cups of sugar and 7 cups of flour. This is the combining ratio. Okay. So if it is 8 cups of water, there will be 8 cups of sugar. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. Hello. Yes. I'm so sorry. Yes, Ashwin, does this make things clear?
Got it.
Right. Okay. Next question we have X and Y are two alloys which were made by mixing zinc and copper in the ratio of 6:9. Okay, so X is the first alloy where zinc is to copper is 6:9, and then Y is the second alloy where the ratio of zinc is to copper is 7:11. Okay, so this, excuse me, this has total 15 parts. This has total 18 parts. Okay. Now, if 40 grams of alloy X and 60 grams of alloy Y are melted and mixed to form alloy Z, what is the ratio of zinc and copper in alloy Z? So here it says that 40 grams of alloy X are, like 40 grams of alloy X. So what we can do is we can first take out the grams of zinc and copper respectively in alloys X and Y. Okay, so if it is 40 grams, so 6/15 parts would be for zinc in alloy X. Does that make sense to everyone? Anyone who does not understand this part? Okay, so 3 times 2 and 3 times 5, 5 times 1, 5 times 8, this gives us 16 grams. Okay. And then for copper in alloy X would be, we can basically subtract 16 grams from 16 grams from 40 grams, which would give us 24 grams of copper. Now, similarly, zinc in alloy Y would be 7/18 times 60 grams. Okay, so this would be 6 times 3 and 6 times 10, which is 70 by 3 grams. Okay, no need to solve this particular, solve this particular fraction. Similarly, for copper in alloy Y, it would be 11/18 times 60 grams, which would again like 6 times 3 and 6 times 10, which will be 110/3 grams. Now we have gotten the total amount of zinc, which is 16 plus 70/3, and the total part of copper, which is 24 plus 110/3. Now what we can basically do is, if we have to find out the ratio of zinc and copper, we have to basically just add the amount of zinc and add the amount of copper and take out the ratio. So 60, not 60, I'm so sorry. 16 plus 70 over 3 and 24 plus 110 over 3. Now this would give us 48 plus 70 over 3 or 111, 118 over 3. Okay, and this would give us 72, no, yeah, 72 plus 110 over 3 or 182 over 3. Now comparing these two quantities, we can, like, if we have to find out the ratio of zinc to copper, we can just compare these two quantities. So 3 and 3 gets cancelled. This would be 59 times 2 and this would be 91 times 2. So option B would be the answer. Okay. Anyone who has still not understood this part?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, like the calculation you did, 6 by 15 into 40.
Yeah.
So does it mean to say that in alloy X, we in 1 gram of alloy, like in alloy X, we have 6 by 15 grams of zinc? I'm a bit confused in this part.
Okay. So basically, if let's say when the ratio is given as 6:9 or any ratio, basically A is to B, and there are two products, let's take it as X and Y, or to avoid confusion, let's take it as P and Q. Okay. Now, or anything which is mixed together, let's take it this as milk and this as water. Okay, and we are mixing milk and water together, and the ratio of milk to water is A is to B. So total parts will be A plus B. Okay, and now the amount of milk in the mixture would be A over A plus B. Okay, like these many parts out of the total. So let's say if you are mixing 100 grams in, like the mixture is for 100 grams and the ratio is for 3:2. Okay, so that is basically 3 plus 3 over 3 plus 2 and times 100. Now this would give us 3 over 5 times 100 or 60 grams. Now what this also means is in 100 grams of mixture, there is 60 grams of milk. Does that make sense?
Got it, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Also, as you were saying, like if to like change it into a single unit, since it is 3:2, that means 3 over 5 in 1 gram, or basically 0.6 gram in 1 gram each. Okay, so yes, this will also be written as 6 by 15 parts of copper in 1 gram each. Oh, sorry, zinc, not copper. Okay, anyone else? Okay, then next question. The total cost of bananas, 3 bananas, 2 apples, 1 mango is $3.50. And the total cost of 3 bananas, so 3 bananas, 2 apples, 1 mango is $3.50. 3 bananas plus 2 apples plus 1 papaya is $4.20. Okay, so basically, and it is also asking the ratio of the cost of mango to the cost of papaya is 3:5. So cost, if let's say we are taking the cost of mango as M, papaya as P, so M is to P is 3:5. This is the ratio of their costs. Okay. So what we can do is, first thing first, we can use these two ratios and we can subtract the sorry, not ratios, sorry, these two equations, and subtract the first equation from the second. So 3b plus 2a plus 1p equals $4.20 minus 3 bananas, 2 apples plus 1 mango equals $3.50. And subtracting them, the signs would change. These two would get cancelled. This would come as 1 papaya minus 1, the cost of 1 papaya minus the cost of 1 mango. which would come as 70 cents. Now P minus M is equal to, now 70 cents can be written as 70 over 100 if you want to write it. Okay. If you don't, 0.70 also works. Now, if cost of one papaya minus cost of one mango is 70 cents, and the given that the ratio of mango is to P, papaya is 3:5, or we can write this as M over P equals 3:5, or we can write as M equals 3 over 5 times P. We have basically sent P on the right hand side. So we can substitute this particular value here. Okay, so this becomes P minus 3 by 5P equals 0.70, or 2P over 5 equals 0.70, or P equals 0.70 times 5 over 2. Now this is 0.35, and then P equals to 1.75. Okay, $1.75. So the cost of papaya is $1.75, whereas the cost, like here it is given $2. So this would be greater. Anyone who has not understood this part? Any questions regarding the whole solution? Okay. Now, in a rare chord collection, I think we discussed this question last time, if I remember correctly.
Yes, sir, we discussed this one.
Anyone wants me to repeat this particular question?
Yes, sir. Can you do it, sir?
Okay. So it is given that in a rare coin collection, 1 in 6 coins is gold. So let's say there are 600. For example, there are 600 coins. So if we are counting the number of coins, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. 1 in 6 coins. Every group of 6 coins, one of the coins is gold. Okay. And all the coins are either gold or silver. That means the remaining of them are silver. So what we can do is we can basically write it as silver is to gold is 5:1. So basically, like with every 6 coins, 1 would be gold and 1 would be 5 would be silver. Does that make sense to everyone? Anyone who has not understood this particular part? Great. So the ratio
Excuse me, sir.
yeah.
So it's saying that all coins are either gold or silver. So how
Yeah.
can we predict that the rest of the 5 coins are silver only?
So because it is saying that 1 in 6 coins is gold. Like if let's say we are picking 6 coins, any 6 coins, out of those 6 coins, 1 is gold, and it is saying either it can be gold or silver. So the remaining have to be silver. Like the collection only has 2 set of coins, which is either gold or silver. Okay. And
Okay,
let's
sir.
say you're taking out 6 coins in together.
Yes, sir.
So 1 would be gold and the rest would be silver. Like this is a consequence of that.
Okay, sir.
Right. So gold, either you can write gold is to silver is to 1:5, or silver is to gold is to 1:5. However you want, 5:1. However you want to put this ratio. Okay. So let's go with this. Gold is to silver is 1:5. Now the question is saying, now gold here is number of gold coins. Okay, it is not exactly like 1 coin. So let's say if there are 600 coins, 100 of them are gold and 500 of them are silver. So 100 over 500 would give us 1/5. Okay, so that is basically what this ratio is saying. So gold is number of G is number of gold coins, and S is number of silver coins. Okay, so this is what it is saying. Now it says that if 10 silver coins were to be subsequently traded for 10 additional gold coins. So basically, if it is saying, if let's say from the S number, that is the S number of silver coins, we are trading 10 to get 10 gold coins. Okay, we are giving away 10 silver coins, and in exchange we are getting 10 gold coins. The ratio of gold to silver would be 1:4. So this new ratio, okay, now that we've given away 10 coins of silver and gotten 10 gold coins in exchange, this becomes 1:4. Based on the information, how many gold coins would have been there in the collection after the proposed trade? Okay, so once the trade has been done, that means once the exchange has been done, how many coins are left? Now remember, since this ratio is given, this is basically G over S equals 1/5, or G 5 times of gold coins equals total number of silver coins. This is the value that we can use here. Okay, the first thing first would be cross multiplication. So 4 times of G plus 10 equals S minus 10. So it will be 4G plus 40 equals 4G plus 40 equals S minus 10. Or now what we can do is we can replace the value of S from 5G. So 4G plus 40 equals 5G and minus 10. We can take all the variable parts on one side and all the numerical parts on one side. So 40 plus 10 equals 5G minus 4G, or G equals 50. So the number of initial gold coins was 50. Okay, and the number of silver coins would have been 250. This would have been the actual number of coins. But now it's saying how many gold coins would be there in the collection after. Now, if we are trading, so we are trading 10 silver coins for 10 gold coins. So this would make it as 60 coins. Okay, so the answer would be 60 coins in total. Anyone who has not understood this question? Okay. Next would be this is the question that I would like you all to try. This is a relatively easy question. I'll set a timer for 1.5 minutes. You can start. Once you all have done the question, you can send your answers to the chat group, and then we'll discuss. Yes, brother. Sir. Correct, correct. Pratisha, would you like to help us with the answer?
Yes, sir. Sir, so it's given a pantry holds X cans of beans, and so it's X and twice as many cans of soup. So it will be 2X, and half as many cans of tomato paste. So it's 1/2X. So the total number of cans will be X plus 2X plus X by 2. Sorry, sir. The ratio comes to 2:4:1.
Great. So the ratio of, if we take out the ratio of X is to 2X is to X by 2, since this here is a fractional value and it is dividing by 2, what we can basically do is we can multiply each term by 2 to make it a complete whole number. Okay, so this gives us 2X, or 2 basically, this gives us 4X, or 4 basically, or this gives us X. Okay, so the ratio would be 2:4:1. Now the total number of cans would be 7x. That means no matter how many cans are there, it has to be a multiple of 7. Okay, if there is one tomato soup can, tomato paste can, then there will be 2 bean cans and 4 soup cans. So in all total, the number of cans would always be the multiples of 7. So 7, 35 and 63. These 3 would be the answer. Anyone who wants me to repeat or hasn't understood? Okay then. We move on to we already did percentage questions, right?
So somewhere left.
Somewhere left. Can you tell me which ones?
Yes, sir. So number 30.
This did we discuss this question?
No, sir. I guess not. So I'll check and tell you.
Sure. Take it, Madam Nishu.
I don't think we've discussed this.
Okay. So in a 20 game season, a certain basketball player scores at least 15 points in the 60% of 10 games. So first of all, in the first sentence itself, what we get is there is a 20 game season, and in the first 10 games, a player scores at least. Now, whenever something is given as at least, so then the value of like whatever the value will be, okay, whatever the value will be, it can be greater than or equal to the given number. So if I say if let's say I say the compensation that I would get by selling something, or the amount that I will get by selling something would be at least $1,000, then that means the cost can be either greater than 1,000 or equal to 1,000. Okay, so this is what at least means. If let's say it is saying that it is at most something, then the cost can be smaller than 1,000 or equal to 1,000. It will not go beyond that. Okay, so if it is saying at least 15 points in the 60% of the first 10 games, now 60% of the first 10 games are 6 games basically. Okay, so the player is scoring at least 15 points. Okay, so in the rest of the 40%, now 60% has been taken out, so rest of the 40% of the first 10 games, which is 4 games basically, the player is scoring less than 15. Because if the player is scoring equal to 15, it is being added in these 6 games as well. Okay, so any game the player has scored, okay, any game that the player has scored even 14 points, then that would come into the 40%. Now similarly, it says in the next 5 games, 40% of the next 5 games. So 40% of the next 5 games would be basically 2 games. Okay, so in 40% again at least 15 points. Okay, and in 60%, then the rest would be 60%, which is 3 games basically less than 50. Okay, then it says in the last 5 games, 20% of the last 5 games. So 20% of 5 games is 1 game, and in that the player is scoring at least 15. So the rest would be 80%, which is basically 4 games, and the player is scoring less than 50. Okay, now that we have divided the number of games into 2 parts, like less than 15 or at least 15, now what we can say is in what percent of all 20 games that the player score less than 15. The less than 15 are 4 plus 3 and plus 4. These are the 11 games. 4 plus 3 plus 4. 11 games out of 20 games, the player is scoring less than 15. Now 1 upon 20 is 5%. So 11 upon 20 is 55%. So that would be the answer. Okay. Anyone who has not understood this part? Okay, good. Next question we have, the output of a factory is increased by 10% to keep up. I'll give this question as, like, I'll give you all to solve this first. So in the output of a factory is increased by 10% to keep up with the rising demand. To handle the holiday rush, this new output is increased by 20% again. By approximately what percent would the output of the factory will now have to decrease in order to restore to the original output? Okay, it has reached a certain amount of output and we want it back to the original that it had. So by approximately what percent shall we decrease it to bring it back to its original output? Start. Okay. So Vishal, would you like to help us with the question?
Sure, sir. So let us take the initial output of the factory as 100 for convenience. So, so when it increases by 10%, it becomes 100 plus 10, that is 110.
Okay.
And then it again increased by 20%, which is 22. So 110 plus 22, that is 132.
Okay.
So to get it back to its original output, we should subtract 32 from 132.
Right.
Okay. As percentage, it is 32 by 132 into 100.
Right.
This is 24.24.
Right. Great. But the thing is, since it is this, you can also basically solve this by estimation. Okay. If you approximate 30 over 130, this would be somewhere around 26, basically, I guess. Okay. 3 divided by 30 would be 23. Sorry, not 26, 23. So yes, it would be somewhere around 23. So the only option around 23 is this. This would not be the answer. People who answered question number, option number D, did you all understand your mistake? Anyone who's not understood why this is option B and not option D? Who wants me to repeat? Always remember that change percent is always change over base. Now the base is from where the quantity is changing. Okay, that is always the base. So the quantity is changing by 32 number from 132, not from 100. It is changing from 132 back to the original. So that would be the base, and you can answer it as okay. So same numbers, almost same numbers. Let's try this one. Instead of 1.5 minutes, I'll give you 1 minute for this one. Go. Yes, the answer would be $200. Pratisha, would you like to help us with the question?
Yes, yes, sir. So if we take the initial amount as X,
Hmm.
so after 10% increase,
Hmm.
it comes to X plus 10 by 100 into X.
Right.
When we add this, we get the amount on which the 20% tip was added.
Hmm.
So 20% of X plus 10 by 100 into X. Its total is equal to 264. So
Yes.
when we calculate for X, we get $200.
Always remember, whenever you're changing percentage, to use fraction. Okay, when you're using the value as X, using fractions would be a huge help. Okay, so here X would be 264 times 100 over 132. So 132 times 1, 132 times 2. So X would be 200. Now, how would using or changing fractions, or sorry, changing percentage into fractions when using a variable will come into help? So if let's say original is X and you are increasing it by 10%, that means basically you are increasing it by 1/10. Okay, so whenever something is increased by 1/10, it becomes like n plus 1 over n. If let's say you're increasing it by 10, okay, sorry, 10%. So it becomes n plus 1 over 10. If let's say you're increasing it by 20%, which is 1 by 5, so x would become 6 by 5n. Okay, but let's say if you're decreasing it, so it will become n minus 1 by n. Okay, now this is only when unit fractions are involved. Okay, only when unit fractions are involved. If let's say there is a value as 40%, now 40% would be 2 by 5. Okay, so here let's take it as n and this as m. So this becomes m plus n over m. So if let's say something is, if let's say x is increased by 40%, this makes it as 7 by 5x. Okay, so if we were increasing x by 10%, this makes it as 11 by 10x. And then again, if you're increasing 11 by 10x by 20%, now 20% is what? 1 by 5. So basically adding 1 by 5 of 11 by 10x. Okay, or 11 by 10x plus 11 over 50x. Now if we take the LCM, this becomes this will also become what? Like, I mean, it can also become 50 and then 55 plus 11 or 66 over 50x. Or what you can also do is you can basically change the base to 100. changing the base to 100 would always help to solve questions faster. Always. Okay. Anyone who did not understand that particular thing? Okay. Now, of the 720 students in the Solar University, 25% are seniors. If X seniors were to graduate early and leave the university, and no additional students entered or left the university, what value of X would reduce the number of seniors at the university to 20%? This is a very interesting question. I'll give 1.5 minutes for this one. Vishal, would you like to explain?
Sure, sir. So total students in the university is 720, out of which 25% are seniors. So 25% of 720 is 180.
Hmm.
And then if X seniors were to graduate early and no additional students entered, so the percentage of seniors would drop to 20%. So what we do is 180 minus X divided by 720 minus X.
Why minus X here?
This is no students are added and the total number reduces by X.
Exactly. The number of seniors are reducing as well as the total number of students will also reduce, right? 720 would not remain the same. Wonderful.
Gives 20 by 100.
Right. So this makes it as 180 minus X times, like if you reduce this becomes 5. So 5 times 180 minus X equals 720 minus X. This makes it as
900 minus 5x.
900 minus 5x equals 720 minus x, or 180 equals 4x. Now x will be equal to 45. So 45 number of seniors would go, and this would make it as 20% of the whole number. A lot of you actually chose answer as 36. So if you actually reduce the number just by 36, like the common mistake here is you are subtracting the seniors, but you're not changing the total number of students. The total number of students would also reduce. So this here also is required. That is one common mistake everyone attempted as 36 and beyond. And like Sending the wrong answer on WhatsApp is even more like funny. The rate of a certain chemical reaction is directly proportional to the square of the concentration of chemical A present, and inversely proportional to the concentration of chemical B present. If the concentration of chemical B is increased by 100%, which of the following is closest to percentage change in the concentration of chemical A required to keep the reaction rate unchanged? Very interesting question again. Hmm. Yes, Vishal, the answer is correct. Hmm. Anyone apart from Vishal who would like to answer or solve the question? Okay, then Vishal, would you like to help us?
Sure, sir. The question says the rate of the reaction is directly proportional to concentration of A square and inversely proportional to concentration of B square. So we can write rate is directly proportional to A square by B.
Hmm.
So to keep the rate constant, in the second case, the concentration of B is increased by 100%. So A square by B is equal to Ka whole square by 2B. Ka whole square by 2B. So equate A square by B with this Ka by whole square. So K square is equal to 2 and K is equal to 1.44. A square by B is equal to K whole square by 2B. So K is equal to 1.44.
Equating these two, you're saying?
No, sir. Rate,
Then,
you just write initial
sorry?
rate as A square by B.
Right. Okay. First, you're not adding the constant in the first group.
Yeah. To make
Okay.
it simple. So initial rate is A square by B, and
Right.
that is equal to Ka whole square by 2B, because the rate is, remains the same. So we find the value of K over here, which K square equals to and K becomes 1.44. So the new value of K is 1.44. Initially it was 1.
Hmm.
The delta K becomes 0.44, which which is a 40% increase from the initial value, 0.44 by 1,
Okay.
and 44%, that's closest to 40% increase.
1.414, not
Yeah,
1.4.
414, sorry.
1.414.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anyone who has not understood this question wants me to explain? This was the old rate, this is the new rate. It has become this now. So we are basically comparing and finding out the value of K. Next question then. This is a relatively easy question. A company producing fruit juice changed its packaging from boxes measuring 5 times 10 times 20 centimeters to boxes measuring 6 times 10 times 20 centimeters. So the price of the box did not change, and all the boxes are full of juice. By approximately what percent did the price of the juice decrease? So it's given that the company had this as the measurement and it changed its length from 5 to 6. Okay, so original volume was 5 times 10 times 20, which is basically 1000 centimeter cube. Okay, now the new volume is 6 times 10 times 20, which is 1200 centimeter. Okay, it says that the price did not change at all. Okay, the price did not change and the boxes are full of juices. So let's assume that 1 centimeter cube is 1 rupee. Okay, so the cost here is 1000 and the cost here is 12. It was supposed to be 1200, right? This would have been the cost, but cost actually remains the same, so it is still 1000. Okay, so basically we can also say it as that the price changed from 1200 to 1000. So the change is 200 from 1200, and over 100%, this becomes 1 over 6 times 100%, or basically 16.66%. So option B would be the answer. Anyone who has not understood? Anyone who wants me to repeat this particular question again? Okay. So next question would be, John sold 100 shares of a stock for $96 per share. For half his shares, this represented a 20% profit, and for other half, this represented a 20% loss. Okay, what was the net gain and net loss? Before solving this, just remember that when two items are there, item A and B, and both of them have the same selling price as X, okay, and on one item it is, let's say, Y% profit, and on one item it is Y% loss, the equivalent profit or loss can be taken out by successive percentage formula. So since this is profit, this will be plus Y. Since this is loss, this will be minus Y, and this would be Y times minus Y over 100. This and this gets cancelled. This becomes minus Y square over 100. This would be the equivalent percentage. Okay, so since it is a 20% profit and a 20% loss on the other set, and it is 20 times minus 20 over 100, so this and this gets cancelled. This becomes minus 4%, or basically overall 4% loss. Now, $96 per share and 100 shares, right? So basically 9600, this is the total SP. Now if SP is given and loss percent is given, CP is basically SP times 100 over 100 minus loss percent. So this becomes 9600 times 100 over 100 minus 96, minus 4, and this becomes 9600 times 100 over 96, which is 100 times 100 or $10,000. So the total CP was $10,000, and the loss would be loss of $400. Now this is something which you do directly. This is only when, let's say, there are two sets or two items and they both have the same selling price. Let's say here it is 100 and here also it is 100. Okay, and on one there was a 20% profit, and on the other there was a 20% loss. So what you can do is you can solve this by successive percentage. Since it is 20% profit, it will be plus 20, 20% loss would be minus 20, and then plus 20 times minus 20 over 100, which would give us minus 4%. And again, then you can take out the overall profit or loss. Okay, anyone who did not understand wants me to repeat it by a different method? Anyone who wants me to repeat it in a different way?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Sorry?
Yes, sir. I want to know.
From
Another
different.
Yeah.
It is basically taking out, like you can take out the SP and you can take out the CP. So since 100 shares stock is for like sold for 96 per share, so total SP becomes 96 times 100 or $9,600. Now for half is shares. Now if there are 100 shares, half will be 50 and the other half would be 50 again. So he says that represented 20% profit. So SP is half of 46 would be 96 would be $4,800, and the profit percent is 20%. Here the SP is 4,800 again, $4,800, and the loss percent is 20%. So yeah, you can take out the formula for CP when SP and profit percent are given is SP times 100 over 100 plus P%. So this will become 4800 times 100 over 100 plus 20, which is 4800 times 100 over 120. So 120 times 1, 120 times 40, which gives us cost price as $4,000. Same thing here, instead of plus P%, you can subtract the loss percent. So this becomes 4800 times 100 over 100 minus 20, which is 4800 times 100 over 80. 0 and 0 gets cancelled. 80 times 1, 8 times 1, 8 times 60, which gives us the cost price as $6,000. Now total cost price would be 10,000, which is basically adding this value and this value, and total SP would be 96, which we have already calculated. So overall loss of $4,000. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Next question would be, on a certain date, PAD invested $10,000 of X% annual interest compounded annually. Oh, this is actually a very interesting question. Can be solved within 1 minute. However, I'll still give 1.5 minutes for this. If the total value of the investment plus interest at the end of 12 years will be $40,000, in how many years the total value of the investment plus interest will increase to 80,000? Anyone will solve the question? Anyone who's still solving the question? Okay. So on a certain date, PAD invested $10,000, so principal is equals to $10,000. Annual X% annual interest, so rate equals X% compounded annually. So the formula for compound interest is amount payable equals to principal times 1 plus R over n times 100 to the power of n times t. No, I don't. I'm not sure, Ashwin. Let me check.
Well, it's correct.
Sorry.
The formula is right, sir.
No. Ashwin answered the question, so I was saying that whether the answer is correct or not, I'm not sure. Let me check, is what I'm saying. So where n is number of cycles in a year and t equals to time in years. Okay. The thing is, there are two unknowns. We do not know what the rate is. We also do not know what the time is. Okay. So we would have to take out the amount in, what do we say? In the value of another term. Okay. Now here it says that the investment plus interest. So this is like amount payable is basically investment plus interest. At the end of 12 years will be 40,000. So in 12 years, it becomes 40,000 from 10,000. Okay. Now this can be basically written as 1 plus R over 100. Since it is compounded annually, n would be 1. So we can basically just write it as 100. Okay. And t. So this is 12. Now since this and this is in multiplication, we can cancel out the zeros. So 1 plus R over 100 to the power of 12 becomes 4. Okay. Or what we can do is we can also write this as 2 to the power 2. Now this becomes 1 plus R over 100 to the power 12 becomes 2 to the power 2, right? I'll remove this. Now, what we can do now is we can take under 12 on both the sides. So 1 plus R over 100 to the power of 12 becomes 2 to the power 2 under 12. Okay. Now this can be written as 1 plus R over 100, 12 times 1 by 12, because any number under a surd becomes a to the power 1 by x. Okay, the value, the amount of surd, and this would becomes 2 to the power 2 times 1 by 12, which is 1 by 6. So what we have gotten is the value of 1 plus R over 100 is 2 to the power 1 by 6. This is the value. Also, Ashwin, like the value will double, like when it is compound interest, the amount will double earlier than just exactly. This is for everyone, like the amount will double earlier than just the double of time. Now we have gotten the value of this here. Okay, remember this, which is 1 plus R over 100 equals to 2 to the power 1 by 6. Now, it is asking in how many years will the value change to this. So again, amount payable equals P times 1 plus R over 100 to the power of T. It is asking us to, it's okay. It's asking us to take out the time here. Yes, that would be the answer. So 80,000 here equals 10,000 here, 1 plus R over 100, and we have to take out the value of T. Now this would become 8 basically. So 8 equals to 1 plus R over 100 over T. Okay. Now the value of 1 plus R over 100 is 2 to the power 1 by 6. So 8 equals 2 to the power 1 by 6 over T. Okay. Or 8 equals, or we can write 8 as 2 to the power 3 basically. So 2 to the power 3 equals 2 to the power 1 by 6 times T, or 2 to the power T by 6. Now, whenever bases are equal, whenever the base is equal and there are two different powers given, then these are supposed to be equal. Okay, so here bases is equal. Base is equal, which is 2. So 3 equals T over 6, or T equals 3 times 6, or 18. So 18 would be the answer. Anyone who has not understood? Okay then. Moving on. Next question. Work and rate. Did we discuss any questions? Any questions here for work and rate? Did we discuss this?
Yes, sir.
Next question. Here the answer was 178.5. Next question. Henry eats X scones in X% of the time it takes Rachel. The answer was Y by 5 here. Anyone who wants me to repeat these questions, let me know. Okay, the next question. If you're not able to unmute yourself, you can also send your request in the chat box. A pool can be filled in 4 hours and drained in 5 hours. The valve that fills the pool was opened at 1 p.m. and sometime later the drain that empties the pool was also opened. If the pool was filled by 11 p.m. and not earlier, when was the drain opened? Have we discussed this question earlier?
Yes, sir.
Anyone who wants me to discuss this question again? Anyone? You can also say, if you feel like you cannot unmute yourself and say, you can also send the request in the chat box. Okay. There is a leak in the bottom of the tank. This leak can empty a full tank in 8 hours. When the tank is full, a tap is opened into the tank which intakes water at the rate of 6 liters per hour. And the tank is now emptied in 12 hours. What is the capacity of the tank? Did we discuss this question?
Yes, sir, we discussed this.
Okay, so anyone who still wants me to repeat this? Anyone of you? Okay. If Dave works alone, he will take 20 hours more to complete a task than if he worked with Diana to complete the task. If Diana works alone, she will take 5 hours more to complete the task than if she worked with Dave to complete the task. What is the ratio of the time taken by Dave to that taken by Diana if each of them worked alone to complete the task? Anyone who wants me to discuss this question? Okay. Machines A and B working simultaneously at the respective constant rates produce M units in 1 hour. If working independently, it takes machine B 3 hours less than machine A to produce 2 M units. How long will it take machine A to produce 5 units? Did we discuss this question as well?
Yes, sir.
Anyone who then wants me to repeat it? Okay. Now this here, have we discussed this question as well? Pratyusha, you were telling me like from 32, so now what are questions are left?
No, sir, rest are done. Rest are
Rest are
done.
done? All
Yes.
of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This also we discussed?
Yes, sir, we have discussed.
Right, right. This one, yes. I think this one was left to discuss. Right? Okay. This also we discussed. This also we discussed. I remember contractor hires. This as well we discussed. This did we discuss this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then we'll wait for 5 minutes then we'll start with our algebra section then. Okay, since the questions are complete in the arithmetic review. Anyone up till now, if you have any doubt in the arithmetic section, you can still come up and ask me. Okay, it is not an issue. Any question, any topic that you want a simple like overview of, we can do that. Okay. If not, then we'll start with algebra. Okay, we'll meet here again in 5 minutes. Take a break for 5 minutes, and then we'll go with algebra. If in the meantime if anyone remembers any question that we have still not discussed, wants me to repeat a particular question, you can send that in the chat box. I'll come and discuss it there. Okay, and then we'll start algebra right in 5 minutes. Okay. Hope everyone is back. Starting with algebra. Well, first, like today, we'll only discuss, like, since there's only half hour left, we'll only discuss the basics of algebra today. The topics that are there in your algebra section are, first of all, will be your basic elements of algebraic expression. Okay. Then you would have certain formulas in algebra that I'll give you a list of formulas as well. You'll also have quadratic equations. Then you will have inequalities. Then there is.
Sir, we had already started algebra.
We've already started with algebra.
Yeah.
Okay, where did we discuss all this?
Yes, sir. We discussed.
Oh, actually, I'm so sorry. I think last time I couldn't take notes. That is why I missed all of this. I'm really sorry about this. Give me 1 second. I forgot to take down the notes for the last session, which is why last was on Saturday. So yeah. So until where have we completed? Have we done? Yeah, we have done these questions. I remember now. We have done these as well, and these as well. This also we had discussed, right?
No, sir, these we didn't discuss.
Until
Sir,
here,
That's
we
till
discussed.
question 5, I guess. Question 5 we
Yes,
completed.
sir.
Okay,
Yeah,
until
that's
question
fine.
5. This is left 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right. Okay, fine. 15. Until 15 I gave for the homework. Okay.
No, sir, no homework was given.
No homework was given from algebra?
No, sir.
Okay, then wonderful. Then since we have already covered the basics of algebra, it's good we can actually cover better portions of it. Then okay, fine. We'll start with the questions right away. Okay. What we'll do is we'll start with this question here. I'll this wouldn't take more than 1 minute. I'll, however, actually discuss this question on my own, and then from the next question on, you all can start answering. So when x is added to y, the value is 12, and y is subtracted from x. So the value is 7. What is the value of x square minus y square? Now, this is basically x plus y and multiplied by x minus y. So basically 12 times 7, which is 84. So here it is 84. Remember the basics of algebra, the formulas that I gave. First one was a plus b squared, which is a square plus 2ab plus b square. Then a minus b whole squared is a square minus 2ab plus b square. Third one, the one that we discussed, a square minus b square is a plus b times a minus b. Oh, I remember there was one student who actually also sent me notes for algebra now. Nice. So then apart from this, there is a square plus b square is equal to, sorry, not this. A plus b whole squared plus a minus b whole squared is 2a square plus 2b square, or 2 times a square plus b square. And then there is a plus b whole squared minus a minus b whole squared, which is 4ab. Then a plus b plus c whole squared is a square plus b square plus c square, plus 2 times ab plus bc plus ca. Then we have a cube plus b cube, which is a plus b times a square minus ab. This is something which is very important to remember, plus b square. And then the eighth one is a cube minus b cube, which is a plus b, a square plus ab. Again, this is something which is when it is a cube minus b cube, here it would be plus ab, so plus b square. Okay. If anyone is still writing, do you want me to wait?
So the eighth formula is a minus b into a square plus ab plus b square.
Sir, sorry.
A minus b times a square plus ab plus b square. Gives it a plus b instead of a minus b. Eighth formula.
Eighth, a. All right. Yes. Thank you. I'm so sorry. A minus b times a square plus ab plus b square. Right. Then there is a plus b whole cube, which is a cube plus b cube plus 3ab times a plus b. Also can be written as a cube plus b cube 3a square b plus 3ab square. Then there is a minus b cube, which is a cube minus b cube minus 3 times ab times a minus b, which can also be written as this. So these are mostly all of the formulas, and also like you can like create variations of it, of course. If let's say it is a plus root b, which is given, then the square of this would be a square plus b plus 2a root b. If it is, let's say, a root b plus c whole square, it is a square b plus c square plus 2 ac root b. So you can still create variations of it. If it is plus here, and then it all will be plus. If it is minus here, then this would be minus. Same thing with here, this would be minus. Excuse me. So yeah, let's start with the questions then. I think we discussed this one as well. 2x equals 4y equals z. What is the value of x minus y in terms of z?
No, sir.
Okay. So okay, then we'll start with this. This wouldn't take more than 45 seconds. Right. Okay. Now it says that 2x equals 4y equals z was the value of x minus y in terms of z. So first of all, from this 2x equals z, x can be written as z by 2 and y can be written as z by 4. So z x minus y is basically z over 2 minus z over 4, which is 4z minus 2z. Sorry, 2z minus z over 4, which is z over 4. So answer A. Or just remember that 1 by 2 of something minus 1 by 4 is basically 1 by 4. Next, this is a very interesting question. 4x minus 1, 3x square plus 2 square, 6x plus 4 equals 0. The number of distinct values of x which are not integers and quantity b is 3. Then which of these would be greater? Very interesting question. Pratusha, would you like to help us?
Sir, I couldn't do this one.
Okay. Vishal.
Sure, sir. So we can split the terms because the product is 0. 4x minus 1 equals 0, or 3x square plus 4 equals 0. 6x plus 4 equals 0. So in the first equation, x is 1 by 4. Second equation is plus or minus 2i by root 3. Plus or minus 2i by root 3. 2i. X equals minus 2 by 3. In the second equation, it's 2i, sir, because square root of minus 1.
Sorry,
2j.
which one?
In the values of x is plus or minus 2j by root 3. 2i or 2j.
Okay. 3x square equals 4 minus 4, and then x square equals 4 by minus 4 by 3, or x equals plus minus under root minus 4 by 3. Now this can also be written as minus 1 under root, or as Vishal said, I, which is an imaginary number. Okay. Also, you do not have to necessarily, like, any negative number under the square root is imaginary basically. So there are two values here, third value here, and fourth value here. So the number of distinct values which are none of those values are integers. Okay. So the number of values which are distinct and not integers are 4. Here it is 3. So quantity A would be greater than 3. Anyone who wants me to repeat this, who wants the explanation again? Okay then. Then we have, oh, this is also a very interesting question. The first 3 terms of a sequence are given above. If each subsequent term is the product of the preceding 2 terms, how many of these first terms are negative? First 90 terms are negative. So up till 90th term, out of those 90 terms, how many are positive and how many are negative? No, Vishal. Check again. Also, this type of series, I mean, you can continue solving them. If you want to listen, you can listen. This type of series, a series, forgetting the spelling. Is this the spelling? Recursive. I think so. RECC. Yeah, RECUR. This type of series is known as recursive series. I'll tell you how. Excuse me. Yes, now the answer is correct. So then it would be this one, no? The other option. Vishal,
Yes,
the one that you
by mistake, I marked it wrong.
right. Okay, first of all, before solving these questions, let's discuss 2 particular things on a GRE, which is sequences. Over like sequences, you will have 2 types of sequences. Mostly, broadly, you will have 2 types of sequences on the GRE test, which is an arithmetic sequence or an arithmetic progression. and the other would be your recursive series. Someone is unmuted. Can you, like, if you have anything to say? The other is known as a recursive series. So anyone who can tell me what is an arithmetic progression or an arithmetic series with the help of an example? Anyone? Yeah.
Sir, arithmetic progression means the difference between two terms is constant.
Okay, so yes, basically, first of all, a series where the difference between two consecutive terms is always the same. Okay, when the difference between, like, let's say there is terms as A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, and so on, then where in a series the difference between two consecutive terms is always constant. Let's say first 5 natural numbers, okay, or first n number of natural numbers, the difference between the two consecutive terms will always remain the same. So whenever the difference between two consecutive terms in a series remains the same, then that is known as an arithmetic progression. Okay, now there are 3 terms which would be important here, which is A1 or basically A, and which is known as the first term of the series. Then there is N, which is known as the number of terms in the series, and then there is D, which is common difference. Okay, so the formula or the algebraic equation by which we get the value of any term in such a series is given by this: A of nth position or A of index n is equals to A plus n minus 1 times D. Okay, so if, let's say, basically all the tables, all the multiples of a given number are in a way arithmetic progression. So let's say we are talking about the multiples of 8. So 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, 80, the first and multiples of 8. So all of these numbers are in arithmetic progression. The difference between the two consecutive terms remains the same, which is 8. Okay, now what you can, like, there are certain formulas which are related to this. Like, first of all, we already talked about A, N, and D. Okay, so if, let's say, you know the value of A, you know how many number of terms are there in the series, and if, let's say, you know the common difference, then there is the fourth thing, which is known as the last term. Okay, the last term is again given by the same formula: A plus n minus 1 times D. Okay, this is how you can create a formula for the last term. Or you can also replace it by 10th t of nth position. Okay, so if, let's say, you are given a series as 8, 13, 18, 23, 28, and you are asked, let's say, 111th term in this series. So this becomes your first term, or basically A1 or A, however you want to write it. This is your second term, A2, and this would be your A3. Now the common difference would be the the difference between two consecutive terms. Here it is 5, and the common difference between this is also 5. So by this way, like, if the difference changes, then we can say that the series is not in arithmetic progression. But if the difference is same, okay, if the difference remains the same between any two consecutive terms in the series, then this series is known as an arithmetic progression. Now, to take out the 111th term, you basically have to use this formula, which is a plus 111 minus 1. And now d is your common difference, which is 5. So 5 here. Now a was 8. This would be 110 and times 5, which will be 8 plus 550 or 558. Okay. Anyone who has not understood till here? Okay. Now, sometimes on the test paper, you are also asked the sum of the sequence. Okay. Sum of the terms of sequence. So let's say, again, let's talk about the same sequence that we were talking earlier. So 8, 13, 18, 23, 28. If let's say you are asked the sum of 100 terms, okay, you're asked the sum of 100 terms in this series, then the formula can, like, there are two formulas for the sum of series, okay, which is n by 2 times a plus l. Now n is number of terms, which we know as 100. Then a is the first term and l is the last term. Okay. Now, if you know the last term here, wonderful. If you do not, then what shall we do? Then
Last term is a plus n minus 1 into d again.
Right, exactly. The formula for L is a plus n minus 1 times d. We know a, we know L. Why? Because we're talking about 100 terms here. We know d. So we can replace L by this formula, and this becomes n over 2 times a plus n minus 1 times d, or it becomes n over 2 times 2a plus n minus 1 over d. Okay, so this is a formula that you can use. Now, using these two formulas, there are certain, like, certain values or certain set of formulas that you can create, like sum of first n natural numbers, which is basically sum is created by n by 2 times n plus 1. Okay, so this here would be the number of the sum of all. So if let's say the sum of terms from 1 to 48, for example, so you can just put the values, like n would be 48 over 2 and then 49. So this is how you can find out. Okay, similarly, if it is, let's say, sum of first n even positive integers. Okay, so if let's say there are 10 even positive integers, so that is basically the last would be 20, which can also be written as 2 into 10. Now this here, if you consider it as n, the last term is 2n. Okay, so basically 2n times number of terms plus 1 over 2, or n times n plus 1. Okay, number of terms times number of terms plus 1. So which will be 10 plus 10 times 10 plus 1, which is 110. Okay. Now the other set of series is known as recursive series. Now, recursive series is when in a series, in a sequence, any term, okay, it is dependent over the predecessor or the immediate predecessor, or let's say the immediate two predecessors. Okay, so such as this, it is said that if each subsequent term is the product of preceding two terms, this here is the product of this term as well as this term. So minus 2 comma 4 comma minus 8. Now the next term which comes in this series would be the product of these two, which is minus 32. The next would be 256, positive 256, because this is negative and this is negative. Then the next would be 2 to the power 30, which is 8192 minus 8192. Why? Because this is negative and this is positive. So this here is known as a recursive series. Okay, whenever in a series a term is dependent either on its predecessor or in the immediate two, or like any predecessor, basically one or two predecessors, that is it. So can anyone give me any other example of a recursive series, like apart from this that we're talking about? Does anyone know? We have studied, or you might have heard about this series quite often.
Fibonacci.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it a yeah? It is a recursive series.
It is. Sorry. So, did someone say something else? Okay. So a Fibonacci series is a recursive series. So basically, it starts from 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and then 21, and then 34. Or like these are the first 10 terms. 1, 2, 3. I mean, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, and A10. These are the first 10 terms of the Fibonacci series. Now, in a Fibonacci series, what happens is, starting from the third term, the value of the third term is basically the second term and the first term, the sum of the second term and the first term. Similarly, the fourth term will be the third term and the second term added together, and subsequently all of the terms. Okay, so this here is a recursive series. This is a very common recursive series that is there, and like say similarly you can get any other. So let's say if n a of n is equal to a of n minus 1 times 2 and plus a of n minus 2. So this here also can become a recursive series. You can take the first two terms as 1 and 2, and then what you can do is the third term. So a of 3 would be a of 2 times 2 plus a of 1. So this becomes as 4 plus 1, which is 5. So the third term would be 5. Now the fourth term would be 10 plus 2, which is 12. Okay, so on and so forth. Then there would be 29. So this is how you can create a recursive series as well. Now coming to this question, this here is an example of a recursive series where a of n is equal to a of n minus 1 times a of n minus 2. Now, instead of going to series, what we'll do is we can, instead of writing the first 3 terms, write the first 6 terms. Okay, so this is negative, then there is 256, and as I discussed, 8192. These would be the first 6 terms. Now, a common mistake that people will choose would be to, like, since there is negative, positive, and negative, they'll assume that the next term would be positive as well, and they'll answer 45. But if you see the pattern here, this is negative, positive, and negative. Okay, when another number comes succeeding this would be negative as well, because it is the multiplication of negative and positive. Then when 2 negatives come, this would be positive, and then again a negative and a positive number have. So basically it is divided into sets of 3: negative, positive, negative, then again negative, positive, negative. Okay, now since there are 90 terms, there will be total 30 sets. Okay, since there are 30 sets, in these 30 sets, there will be 1 positive term and 2 negative terms in each set. So since there are 30 sets, basically 60 negative terms and 30 positive terms. Okay, so the answer would be 60. Anyone who has not understood this? Who wants me
Could
to
you
repeat
please repeat the last part after 30 sets?
up to
After 30 sets.
30 sets? Okay, so if like instead of just talking about the first 3 terms, let's talk about the first 6 terms. Okay, so this here is the first 6 terms. Now, if you see here, this is a negative number, this is a positive number, then again a negative number, similarly negative number, positive, and then again negative. The product of these two would again be negative, and then the product of these two would be positive. The product of these two would be negative again. Okay, so basically the series is being formed in a set of 3 numbers. Okay, now since there are 90 terms and one set is for 3 terms, there will be 30 such sets where it is negative, positive, negative, then again negative, positive, negative. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now since there are 30 sets and in each set there is one positive number and 2 negative numbers. Okay, so the total number of negative numbers in 90, like in total 90 terms would be 30 times 2, which is 60 terms. Does it make sense now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So total number of terms which would be negative in the first 60, in the first 90 terms would be 60. Now, next question here. The set T contains of all numbers of the form. This is a very interesting question. I'll actually give these questions as homework from 10 to 15. You can take this as your homework and you can come up with this, and then we'll discuss these questions as well as for tomorrow we'll complete quadratic equations, then we'll complete inequalities, and as well as functions. We'll hopefully complete it until functions. Okay, then for the next one would be word problems that would be left, and then the algebra review. So yes, today what you can do is you can take these 6 questions as homework, and then you can take a screenshot for this if you want. Anyone who has missed any question? Anyone who could not take a screenshot? Okay then. Great. So these 6 questions are for your homework. Also, apart from that, I would. I can't remember whether I told you all to watch these videos or not, but this would be your right. This would be your this thing. The lessons that you have to watch in this week itself like not necessarily until tomorrow, but like by the upcoming week. Like I hope you have already watched these videos, general math strategies. Now the ones that are to be watched is arithmetic and fractions, then percents and ratios. There is also integer properties, and that is it. Apart from that, you have powers and roots. These are the videos that I hope all of you are watching. If you are not watching, please make sure that you actually do that. Also, you can watch this video here, point of comparison questions and integer properties. Okay, so that is it. Please make sure that until the next week you complete this, and tomorrow we'll do quadratic equations, functions, and inequalities. That is it for today. If anyone has any question, any problem,